Here's the good news. We got through the year, and we are going to get through this. I am so optimistic tonight. I can't tell you. I mean, you know me pretty well. I'm not. You don't look up optimism in the dictionary and see my face. So I am feeling very good about this, and I think too that I feel so privileged to be able to live in this moment. That after all this time, all these years, a country that's almost 250 years old right now, but a time, I mean, one gender has been in charge since the Ice Age, and that's like 10,000 years ago. And the fact that, Ari, that you and I get to live to see this moment, and it's such an exhilarating feeling. And I think I know how this is going to turn out, and I'm very positive about this. And I'm glad you just took us through that timeline, that trip. It was a trip, by the way, trippy. And at the end of it, I thought the only way I'm going to calm down, whoever you asked the question to, favorite album of all time. That's the question I want to ask you on this Friday night. Your, right now, don't think about it, favorite album of all time.
Mine. I mean.
Yours, yeah, yours. Come on.
All time.
All time.
Probably maybe Black on Both Sides by Mos Def, or The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, partly from how old I was when they hit me. You give me yours on the other side. Michael's staying with us. We got to fit in our break because we showed so much. Michael, stay here. We'll be right back with more Michael Moore.
Definitely. Yes.
Sure that the next generation of breakthroughs, from advanced batteries to cutting-edge solar panels, are not just invented, but built right here in America by American workers.
Kamala Harris spending tons of time in the Midwest. We are back with Michael Moore. You were credited for your knowledge of Michigan and labor issues through your filmmaking. You warned about Donald Trump in 2016 when others in the East Coast sort of media mode were underestimating him. We've heard a lot of talk this year about the juicing and corruption of polling, which has its own problems. But on top of that, they now flood more right-leaning polls to try to bust the average up to inflate Trump. We saw that in 22, and you correctly pushed against it when everyone was talking red wave. Take a look.
They're not going to win next Tuesday. There's more of us than there are of them.
The red wave, if at most, has become sort of a red trickle.
Definitely not a Republican wave, that's for darn sure.
I'm shocked there was no red wave.
Oh, my God. Well, there goes the red wave.
With all that in mind, what do you see right now going into Tuesday?
Well, I don't want to jinx it. I'm trying to hold myself back a bit. Because I think I know what's going on. Just look at the early voting. Women showing up at 10 percentage points higher than men to vote. Donald Trump has accused us on the other side here of controlling the weather. I started writing a note to him that I was going to post saying, Donald, you're right. We do control the weather. And what's going to happen on Tuesday is going to be a blue tsunami. And I don't think you really see it coming. And part of it is of your own making. But a large part of it is that the women of America are going to show up, are already showing up in early voting by the millions, by the tens of millions. And so I'm extremely optimistic, but I'm afraid to say that because, and I don't know if you can hear this out the window here, somebody is letting off fireworks outside.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't hear it.
Well, what I wanted to say to them is if you're doing that because you're hopeful about Tuesday in a good way, there's no touchdown dance, end zone dance on the 2-yard line. We have to get through this weekend, right. Monday and Tuesday. Everybody has to do what they're going to do this weekend. We are knocking on doors. We are making phone calls. I am getting out my contact list on my iPhone, and I'm scrolling down every day this weekend and on Monday to see who I know and who I think, I need to remind them not only to vote, where to vote. Don't vote third party, for God's sake. Don't do that this time. And it's, yes, we live in 330 million people. We need more than two parties to cover the broad spectrum of political thought in this country. But we haven't done that.
Yeah.
We haven't created a system.
Let me show you. I'm going to jump in, Michael. Let me show you Michigan in 2016, where the Democrats spent less time there, and Trump won. People, I think in politics, remember that.
Yeah.
They don't.
No time.
Yeah, no time. They don't always remember that out of those over 4.5 million votes, I have the Trump margin up on the screen. I did this the other day with the Biden margin. The point is the same in both. It's barely a bar because it was so slight. 11,000 out of 4.8 million votes. That is what Michigan was in 2016 when he did win the Electoral College. You mentioned early voting. Michigan has over a third of registered voters. That's the entire possible electorate there. Has already voted, and we're over 60 million nationwide. So do you expect, with even high women's turnout, close margins that could swing either way?
Well, I guess anything can happen, and I know I probably should stick to the script and say yes, it's a very close election, and anything can happen, and it's really tight. And yet, I know what my heart is saying, and I'm out enough, and I'm around people enough. And it was this way back in 2016 when I tried to warn people that Trump was going to win this, and it's very hard. I mean, I've spent a lot of my life trying to warn people that we're not going to find weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. General Motors is going to go under. I mean, you could just look at my work, and it's like nonstop. And then I have to deal with being booed off the stage at the Oscars for saying that, you know, there weren't going to be these weapons of mass destruction. So I'm used to this. It's okay, but I don't want people to think that they can't work.
What's your heart tell you? Well, what's your heart tell you?
I know. I heard you. My heart tells me that we're in for a very great and historic moment, one that should make all of us who care about this country and who love it very emotional, in the sense that we've pulled this off, that we are better than what we've seen in that reel that you ran. We are a good people. And we are a decent people, and we you know, the great thing, especially about Kamala Harris, is that, and what I want to say to Republicans who are watching, or people who maybe are not going to vote for her, that the things that she's fighting for, improved Social Security, improved Obamacare, a ban on assault weapons, protecting women's reproductive rights, she's not just doing that for Democrats. She's doing that for you, all of us. Everybody is going to benefit from a Harris-Walz presidency, and just the thought of that, and that it's so selfless. It's not just about me. What can we get? What can we give the rich for more tax cuts? Whatever. It's about the people, and everybody getting a fair shake. Everybody having a seat at the table, and everybody gets a slice of the pie. That's what we stand for. That's the America we want to live in. I just saw the statistic today. It said 72% of us do not own a gun. You know, do not own a gun. That's who we are. People in other countries think we're a bunch of gun nuts because we have these horrific mass slayings. And of course, I've done my own work about this. But the good news is, at our core, in that heart, we know the country we want to live in, and we want everybody to have that fair shake. And so I'm extremely hopeful. And I think I might have said maybe a month or two ago, way too early to you, that we have the potential of seeing a possible modern day, not the old school landslide back where you have 60% of the vote, but we have a chance to see a 55-42. A 52-47. That would be what I would call a modern day landslide. That the chance of that is
no, I understand,
but it rests in everybody's hands.
I got to hit my next break for Connie Chung, because you know how it works. But I take your final point as well. We're told we're divided. We're told it's margins. Everyone's saying participate. But you're also pointing to a path where maybe there is something decisive, however long it takes to count. We will see.
And
Michael,
we can make it happen.
in two of
the
our
power
blocks
is in our hands.
Yes, sir. Friday
Public
going into
Enemy,
the election. We're
Like the
glad.
Power. Public Enemy is the album.
Hey, shout out Chuck D, Michael Moore. Thanks to both everyone who's been on thus far. Thank you, Michael. Connie Chung, as I mentioned, is coming up. The TV news legend is another